Hi, this is Dina with Digital Hotcakes, and I am in ProShow Producer, and I'm going to show you how to create a cool wedding intro using one of the backgrounds from Wedding Essentials Volume Number 5, specifically the Gold Hearts background number 1. And I'm going to be using the widescreen version, so the first thing I'm going to do is set up my slideshow for widescreen. And I do that by clicking on Show Options up here, Show Settings, and just make sure the aspect ratio here is set to 16:9. And the first thing I'm going to do, I want to create a little fade in for the intro. So I'm going to right click on the slide timeline and insert a blank slide. I'll set the time to 1 second and the transition to 1 second. Okay. And next we're going to be using an audio clip with this intro, and we are using the Spring Four Seasons from a company called Fresh Music, and it's their Authentic Classical CD. So I'm going to drop this soundtrack down into the soundtrack and double click to open up the music under Show Options. And the first thing I want to do here is set this offset to 2 seconds. That'll make sure the soundtrack doesn't begin during the blank slide that we created, our fade in slide. Second, I want to click here on Edit Fades and Timing, and I'm going to put the end time at 19 seconds. That's the length of our slide. Okay, done. Now let's bring in that Gold Hearts background to slide number 2. And we'll double click to open slide options. And let's go under Layers, Layer Settings. And over here under Layer Settings, where the aspect says auto, we need to change that to 16:9. We've set up our show for widescreen, but ProShow doesn't always recognize all video files as being 16:9, so we need to fix that. And if you don't, you'll be able to see, if you take a look at the heart, if I put it back on auto, you can see the heart looks kind of funny. So just set that to 16:9. Now after we've done that, we can start creating our captions. So we'll go under Captions, Caption Settings, and let's type our wedding date. That'll be our first caption. Okay, now I want this to match the background a little better. So under Color, Set, I'm going to grab my eyedropper here and I'm going to drop it in the gold part of the heart there. Okay, and I also have a drop shadow applied. I'm going to leave that. I kind of like that. And I'm going to, let's set the color. Okay, let's move this up a little bit, right about there. And over here under Text Effects, we want to set the fly in to a fade in and the fly out to a zoom in. You'll see why in a minute. Okay. All right. Now after we've done that, let's add our other two captions. The second one being the name of the bride and groom. And the third being wedding day. Okay. Now that we have all of our titles, we need to set up the timing and the motion of these titles. So let's go under the Caption Motion tab, and let's go back to our wedding date layer, and right click on keyframe number 1, and we're going to choose Set Time for this keyframe, and we're going to set the time to 1 second. And then we're going to right click on keyframe number 2, and we're going to set its time to 5.5 seconds. Alright, then under the fly out transition here, we're going to right click on that and set the effect time to 0.75. Now I know the motion of this animation, so I'm doing the work for you, so that these captions are going to move with the motion of this moving background. Let's move on to our bride and groom's name layer. Let's select that and right click on keyframe number 1, and we're going to set this time to 6.5 seconds. And we'll right click on keyframe number 2 and set its time to 13 seconds. And once again, we're going to right click on that fly out transition and set the effect time to 0.75. Okay, after we've done that, let's position this title. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and type the position numbers into keyframe 2 because we don't want any movement. We want the title to stay in the same place. So let's just type those numbers. Okay, so now we're done with our name layer. Let's choose our wedding day layer, and we're going to right click on keyframe number 1, and we're going to set its time to 14 seconds and right click on keyframe 2 and set its time to 18 seconds. And this time with the flyout transition, we're just going to left click on it and we're going to change it to a fade out. Okay, and now we need to move it into position. And once again, we're going to type the position numbers from keyframe 1 into keyframe 2. Okay, well now we're done with our captions and the motion of our captions, but we need to set the timing for our background. We're not using the entire length of this particular background. So let's go under Effects, Motion Effects, and we're going to right click on its keyframe number 2 and we're going to set its time to 19 seconds. And also we're going to left click on the cut transition here and set it to a crossfade. And then we want to set its time to 0.75. Okay, and that ought to do it. Let's see what we have.